what we just said was about survival. Why would students who are being provided have everything provided for them to the level that their family is able to provide it? Why would they be interested in or care about any of that information? What would you have to do? How would you have to change the system to get them to care about that information?
That's a good question. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think a lot of things need to be more hands-on. I think at this point we do have a problem in that all school is teaching us to just take tests and pass those tests, and that's how funding is given to schools. And so there used to be an idea that home economics would be taught in the home. Your parents are going to teach you how to pay bills and do all of those things, get loans, buy a house, whatever other information there is available for that. But at this point in time in American culture, because there is not a parent at home who could teach these things, whether that's the husband or the wife, the male or the female, or however it works now in whatever our culture is, there's no one, most homes that don't have enough money, there's no one able to teach that, and even if someone could stay home, they might not know that information anyways. So the problem is you have to build a system that allows students to feel certain amounts of pain, and when you're trying to protect your children from everything, even losing at sports, you're giving them trophies for losing, which is heartbreaking because I want to know how to grieve. When I lose at a sports game, which is not a life and death situation, I want to learn how to grieve. I don't want to celebrate the fact that I feel sad. And so
I don't want to pretend that I don't feel sad.
Exactly.
I want to know how to cope with those feelings.
Exactly. And because we're not learning how to grieve, because we're not learning how to deal with pain, how are you going to teach students that this is, because when you do that with sports, then when that happens in relationships or whatever else, where there's more at stake, you've already learned those skills where it's not as painful. But when you steal that, when you steal people's ability to grieve from them, you take away their ability to learn how to cope with life. And so when you have a school system that's built on just making sure everyone can pass a test so that you can get more funding, and there is no ability to grieve, there is no ability to lose, there is no ability to cope with the things that actually happen in life, you get to a point where people can't deal with life. So it has to be an entire cultural shift. It has to be so many things would have to shift, and it is overwhelming. It's too overwhelming for me to think how we could get from where we are now to a place where young people feel just the right amount of pressure and tension and stress so that they know it's not life and death, but it is important. And if you can learn in a situation that's not life and death how to cope with grief and joy and celebrating and grieving and all of those things, then when it becomes something that's more important, like life and death, you'll be able to do it. So I don't know the answers to those questions. I just wanted to ask these questions of you because I know that you are someone who's owned 2 businesses, someone who's done a lot in their life. You've raised children, you've done so many things that are difficult, and I wanted to honor you in that and ask you some of these questions so that anyone who's listening could find out what you think about it and what it means to you and what some of the things that you have to grieve as you deal with having children, having grandchildren, having businesses. What are some of the difficulties in dealing with employees or renters or whoever it is that you're working with? And
one of the principles that I teach, and so I'm forced to live by as well, is that the best learning happens when we make mistakes. Because when you, put it in hair terms, when you do like the best hair color of your life, like you're weeping, your client's weeping, you grab all your friends to come look at it, you post it all over social media. It's like the best shit you've ever done in your life. Magic came out of your hands that day. You will probably remember those formulas for a week or two. When you jack somebody's hair, and I mean really make a mess, you will remember that for the rest of your life. You'll remember the formula, you'll remember the person. Heck, you'll probably remember what color underwear you had on that day. Like, it is changing. It's life-changing. It is essential to learning. If you are not allowed to make mistakes and feel that failure, you won't learn from it. You won't at all. And so, although I understand the concept of this positive reinforcement, and I love that, I do, I think it is highly important that we teach youth, that we teach everybody how to fail graciously and learn from it. And the gift out of failure is learning.
So are you suggesting that pain is important because it teaches us?
Yes, there is a necessary amount of pain in order to learn.
And that's one of the most difficult parts, especially for people who want to be compassionate and empathetic. We don't want to see people in pain, especially people that we love.